Let's get your reaction to what we just heard and about these newly released UVL documents from Steve Hayes, senior writer from the Weekly Standard, and Tom Joscelyn of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. They're in New York tonight. These are two guys who have been on this story from the very beginning. Tom, I want to start with you. You heard a little bit from Mike Flynn about this. First, about these documents today, what we're learning about them. Obviously, it's very small if the total number is 1 to 1.5 million documents.
Yeah, we're just seeing a small subset of what was captured in the compound. Remember, that larger number reflects a lot of different types of documents, including documents that were translated by al-Qaeda and that bin Laden and his top lieutenants commented on, including writing in the margins. So there's a lot in those files that's interesting and has to be exploited and really released to the public. I'd say what was released today definitely did not include the juiciest or the most interesting documents that we would be interested in getting to the public. In fact, the most interesting stuff in the release today had previously been released in a court in Brooklyn in February or even before that. So I think a lot of the most interesting stuff remains behind a classified wall.
Steve, your thoughts today?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, if you think about the comments that Mike Flynn made to you, I think he said some pretty explosive things there. He said, for one thing, the documents went untouched, unexploited, he thought for perhaps up to a year. If that is true, that is criminal negligence by the intelligence community. How can you have this kind of information, the kind of information that our uniformed military routinely risk their lives to get, sit unexploited for that length of time? And that's what Mike Flynn, whose analysts were trying to get at it, just told you. I think the other thing that Mike Flynn said was that, in effect, the arguments that he was making that were coming out of the documents contradicted the main claims from the Obama administration in 2012. The Obama administration had said way back when they released the first tranche of documents in May of 2012 that Osama bin Laden was a lion in winter, that he wasn't really active. Well, you heard from Catherine Herridge, you heard from Mike Flynn that he was micromanaging these things. He was in contact with his affiliates on a regular basis. He was determining what attacks they would participate in, how they would operate. That's significant information. I think we certainly need to learn more. We need to get more than 120 documents out of a million.
Well, let me get to some of the juicy stuff that Mike Flynn talks about. He's very careful about not to go into classified information. It is not a part of this tranche that has been released, but it deals with al-Qaeda and Iran.
There's no way that you could operate inside of Iran as a senior member of al-Qaeda and move around freely and communicate the way they were communicating without Iranian knowledge. I mean, there's just no way. And I know that, to be the case. And so I would just say that they were supporting or enabling the operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. In
these documents, though, General, there are connections between al-Qaeda and Iran.
Absolutely.
Deep connections?
Yeah, I mean, if they're allowing a guy to conduct, to enable command and control of Iraq, of al-Qaeda in Iraq, on behalf of al-Qaeda senior leaders, yeah, I mean, I would say that that's a fair description.
Tom, that's explosive, in considering where we are with Iran especially.
Well, it's explosive, but it's not altogether surprising. Remember, the Obama administration, since July 2011, both the Treasury Department and the State Department have routinely said that Iran and al-Qaeda have an existing deal that allows al-Qaeda to use Iranian soil as a facilitation network. Now, what's interesting here about the documents that have been released to date is I think that they have sort of been cherry-picked to basically emphasize the antagonistic episodes between Iran and al-Qaeda. Now, those clearly happen. There are clearly areas of tension and clearly areas where they're at odds with one another. However, we know that there's a wealth of evidence that shows that they're actually colluding and have colluded for a number of years. Those documents conspicuously have not been released to date.
Quickly, Steve, I mean, this obviously begs more document release and more looking into this connection.
Yeah, and quickly, I think. I mean, look, we're in the context of nuclear negotiations with Iran. We should know everything we can possibly know about the nature of the Iranian regime. And if it's true, as Mike Flynn suggests, and I think it is, that there was this relationship that Iran has abetted and helped al-Qaeda senior leaders over the years, we certainly ought to know that that's very relevant to the nuclear negotiations.
Tom, Steve, great job on this story. Thanks for coming in tonight. We'll have much more later with the panel.